my name is Dave Mojo and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my drawbar settings on some of the songs that I play on YouTube. But before we deep dive into the drawbar settings in general, what drawbar means. So basically the Hammond organ. This is an XK3C, but in general, when we talk about Hammond, we talk about a classic typical sound. So the Hammond creates the sound using harmonic tone generator. This is how it was built, the Hammond. So basically we can think about like mixing several frequencies together to get this typical classic sound. So basically each drawbar, those are the drawbar, you can see they are some are white and some are black, and basically each drawbar that we pull out, it's a sound. Okay, so the white drawbars are the fundamental tone and its octaves, and the black drawbars are all the other sounds or harmonics that are in between. And these tone generators basically are responsible for creating the Hammond sound. I want to just give you this brief introduction before we deep dive into my specific song settings. Now there are millions of settings I believe that you can create with these drawbars. It's something unique to the world of the Hammond. Now nowadays, with modern technology, we are able to replicate the Hammond sound with Clonewheels. This is also Clonewheel. Maybe this one specifically, it's very close and feels a bit closer to the real B3. But you can get a very good Clonewheel that replicate the Hammond sound so well, even probably better than this one. The Crumar Mojo is one of example, and it's actually not so expensive, and this Italian brand, it's unbelievable how close they are getting to the sound. I mean, you can watch some videos on YouTube where they are comparing the Crumar Mojo with actually a real, I think it's a real B3. And there is a guy there, if I remember I will add the video on my own video here, so that you can check, and you will be surprised how close the Crumar Mojo can replicate the Hammond sound. And we are talking about raw sound without connecting any Leslie. Now let's avoid to go too far away into some other things. I'm making this video because I want to share with you my knowledge. It's not really about knowledge, because I don't have such a deep knowledge on general drawbar settings, but I want to share my experience and my settings, my drawbar settings, and some organ settings to achieve the sound of specific songs. I want to start with a classic. So I want to first of all tell you that we're not going to talk about drawbar settings of too many different songs, because then the video has to last probably over an hour, and then I don't want to do that. Maybe we're gonna do another session showing the drawbar settings for other songs. But today we're gonna concentrate more on Procol Harum, Deep Purple. Once we know Deep Purple, you don't really need to specify the drawbar settings for each Deep Purple song, because pretty much is the same. It's a rock drawbar settings, which is a bit unique. Okay, it's basically the same settings that repeats over on different songs. You can apply the same settings. And we're gonna talk about also Gimme Some Lovin from Spencer Davis group, Green Onion. So I want to concentrate on those specific songs. And if you check my YouTube channel, you can find the shorts and the full length of the song, and you can hear the sound. And I actually played several repeated version of the same song. It's not specified on the video, but you can hear the different sound, because some songs are replicated using the same drawbar settings. You can't change that, otherwise you don't get that tone. If you don't get that tone, then you're not playing that song anymore. but I played some of the, let's take as an example Procol Harum, a Weather Shade of Pale. I played that song using the Leslie on slow for most of the song, except for the when we enter just before the glissando part, when you put the Leslie on fast. Now I did play that song also on stationary, so most of the song was stationary, and then I switched to fast Leslie only just before the glissando part. So the typical part where the song and the melody rise to a level where you know it gets almost like kind of screaming, and then you go with a glissando, you know, like left and right, and then you start to play the song. So because why I'm saying that is because not necessarily you have to replicate the exact settings that were used on the original song, song played by Procol Harum. You can experiment some different little settings that change. They are not exactly like the original. Now, Procol Harum, my settings, the original settings. The drawbars. So the drawbar, so I have my preset here, and for Procol Harum, I use the first 4 drawbars out, but the first one is on 6, the second one is on 8, and this is for the upper manual. The third one is on 8, and the fourth one is on 6. For the lower manual, you have different settings. For the lower manual, you have the first 2 on 5 and the third one on 4. Actually, this is already too little. You don't get so much sound out of it. You can, I don't know if you can hear, because the microphone is placed in here, but my amplification system is on this side. But you get this sound, and it's a bit louder, because here on the upper man is where you play the melody of the song. So you get this. Okay, now you can hear the Leslie's on. It was on stationary. Now I put it on slow, and let's see if you can hear the difference. So you can see, well, you can hear that there is a motion going on, you know, because the Leslie is on slow. So the typical settings for Procol Harum, and I would say you should stick with the original settings. It's 6-8-8-6 for the upper manual. Then you should stick with 5-5-4 for the lower manual. The original were actually 4-4-3. That is, I think, it's a bit too low. You don't really hear the sound of the bass line, the lower part. Then other settings for Procol Harum to get a typical sound is reverb. I like to put plenty of reverb on it. You can use Hall as a reverb type. I think Church is too much. Theatre is too much. I think Hall 1 on Hall 2, that's typical settings you find on your Hammond organ, the Crumar Mojo, the Hammond, any version of Hammond, the Viscount, it's another good organ. I think Roland makes also Hammond organ Nord. Anyway, you can find the reverb settings, and I think the Hall is the best settings. So Hall 1, Hall 2. Hall 2 is a bit like a larger room, and the Hall 1 is a bit smaller room, so you get less reverb. And then you have percussion on. That's very important. You have the second and on soft. Okay, no reverb. When you play the song, you should set the Leslie for the entire song on slow, and only when you reach the part where you have to do the glissando just before you hit the glissando part. You switch the Leslie on fast, you do the glissando, and then you play, the chord typical that it moves down the keyboard from the high end towards the lower hand, and you get a screaming sound, very very loud, very high in pitch, and then the Leslie spinning. And when you finish that part, you switch the Leslie down to slow again, not stationary. You can do on stationary. I did it, and I record the song and I put it on YouTube, but the original was played on slow all the time. Now, Deep Purple, let's go into rock, into heavy rock. Deep Purple, Jon Lord sound. You can actually check my other video I made about how to get a Jon Lord sound. It's an interesting video about how Jon Lord achieved and how I achieved a sound in my studio or when I play live sometime. I'm not going to talk about that because there is another video already made, but Deep Purple is a typical rock settings, and on any rock settings usually the first 4 drawbars are out. You typically set it to 8, 8, 8, 8. Sometimes you can change that a little bit, maybe that's a little too much. Then you can set it on 6, the first drawbar. Second and third you set it on 8, and the fourth one you set it on 6. And it depends of the song. Usually if you just play the song on the upper manual and you just set those settings on the upper manual. If you also want to use the lower manual, it depends on the Deep Purple song. For example, on Black Knight, I have the preset in here. For Black Knight, I set upper manual, the first 4 drawbar on 8, and on the lower drawbar I set 8, 6, 8. You get really bottom end, and I doubled the main riff only to get a really heavy bottom end with plenty of distortion. So Deep Purple settings are typical with plenty of overdrive if you have one. You can use a pedal. I would suggest the Lounsbury pedals are very good. There is one specific, the OGS1 or the OGS2. The OGS2 is just the stereo version, and it's specifically designed in the US for Hammond organ or for keyboard, not for guitar. You can use it with a guitar, but it's mainly designed for keyboard, because they adjusted the frequency in a way that really works well with Fender Rhodes. There is some version, the Wurlitzer, you can use it with a Wurlitzer as well, and you get really specific sound, a nice distortion sound. You can also in the OGS1 or the OGS2 for the Hammond organ, and you get the Jon Lord distortion in one little box. Or alternatively, you can do it the Jon Lord way, just get an JCM 800 amplifier from Marshall, and you just get that naturally distorted sound. I do it differently. For example, the XK3C has a tube valve, so you get really, when you turn the knob, the overdrive all the way to the right, you get really nice warm distortion. Okay, this is the Deep Purple settings. The Green Onion, I also have the settings in here. I kept the same settings on lower and upper manual. It's a 6, the first drawbar, 8, 8, the second and the third one, and on 6 also the fourth one. I kept the same settings on the lower and on the upper manual, and you get the nice Green Onion. They had no Leslie. They were the first recorded version was played through a Fender reverb amplifier. They were getting the nice natural grit, which is kind of this one. This one is not exactly the same, because my sound now is going through the Roland amp with a bit of distortion from the Hammond, And the same type of distortion goes into the Leslie cabinet, which changes the sound, and it doesn't really replicate it as dry as the original recording. You get more a typical classic Hammond sound, but on the Green Onion it wasn't really that, because there was no Leslie at all. Okay. So I haven't played this song in a while now, and that's the Green Onion settings. I like the sound. I like the setting, and obviously, like I said, there is nothing else. There's no percussion. There's no reverb. It's really dry. Okay. Another settings, drawbar settings for another song is the, let's say, Gimme Some Lovin. Gimme Some Lovin. What a piece! That's rock and roll. Nice, heavy, harsh rock sound. And what you do, you put the first 3 drawbars all the way out, 8, 8, 8, and then the last one it's at about 4, okay, 4, 5. So not all the way out, and you get that really heavy bottom end. And what else? You can use the Leslie on some part of the song, and plenty of distortion also on this one. Something to add for the distortion. When I say plenty of distortion, still doesn't mean that you have to turn the knob all the way to the right. It might, if you put too much, it might sound fizzy or too exaggerated. Okay, you don't wanna do that. Okay, you have to use your ears to hear if that distortion is too much or maybe it's not enough, and you should adjust accordingly. You should try to calibrate the sound in a way that sounds nice. Maybe you can sort of record yourself a little bit. You play a few seconds of the song, then you make a recording, you listen to the recording, oh that's too much, and then until you find the right balance. Okay, thank you so much. That's all for today. Have a great evening, and I wish you all the best, and I'll see you to the next video.